What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. This is my NASCAR DFS cheat sheet for the Instacart 500, and we are at Phoenix. It is a 1 mile track, and we're going to have a 312 laps. So lots of laps to lead here. I do think dominators are going to be very important, and in this video, as always, going to be going driver by driver, talking about my favorite plays for this upcoming race. Before we get into it, if you can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would be very, very appreciated as always. And with that said, let's get into it here. So, yeah, like I said, 312 laps. I think dominators are going to be extremely important this week. I'm looking for 2 to 3 dominator builds. And the thing about this slate is up top, there are so many potential dominators, and you can kind of see it highlighted up here. And I'll remind you guys of the key here, which is we have the cores are in green, GPPs are in yellow, fades are in red, and punts are in orange. So I think there's a lot of potential dominators up in this top range. So I think for me, it's going to be more of a stars and scrubs week. I want to fit 2 to 3 dominators in my builds because there's a lot of laps to lead. So other than that, dominators are important. Place differential is important somewhat, but I mean, for an example, like Eric Almarola is starting 32nd. He's not going to lead laps, so if he's not lead any laps, I'd rather go up to a dominator instead, honestly. But especially considering the ownership of Almarola. But we'll talk about him as we go through the video. So we'll start up top with Kevin Harvick. The thing about Kevin Harvick is he screwed a lot of people over, including me. Last week, he was on the pole. Everything pointed towards him, leading laps, dominating that race. And what did he do? He did the complete opposite. He looked awful. He looked slow. He looked bad. But luckily this is a completely different track. This is a 1 mile track. I do expect him to bounce back here. And the thing about this track at Phoenix here, Kevin Harvick's fantastic. And looking at the track history, 9 wins in 36 races. I mean, just think about how crazy that is. And I had to double check to make sure those numbers were correct because that's insane. 9 wins. The next best there is Kyle Busch with 3. So this is arguably Kevin Harvick's best track, in the year. So I think Kevin Harvick, he is expensive, 11,900, starting 18th. If he does not dominate laps, he's probably not going to be optimal. But I'd say there's a pretty decent chance he does get up front. Taking a look at the laps led for his career, 1,662, which is by far the best on the slate. Again, right in front of Kyle Busch with 1,190. So he's good at dominating here. He's led a ton of laps. He has a ton of wins, and you're getting place differential, and he's priced up here for a reason. I mean, Kevin Harvick is a very good play this week, and I do think his ownership's going to be, somewhat lower than it probably should be because of how bad he looked last week. But we got to have a short-term memory here. I do like Harvick this week. I do think he's a very good play. Am I a little concerned that he's looked, pretty bad to start the year? Yes, a little bit, but this is really a track he should bounce back at, and just factoring in that people probably won't go into him all that much, I like it a lot. So I'm gonna have a decent amount of Harvick, but then again, there's so many other plays up in this top range, like going below him. Chase Elliott's very interesting. He is starting sixth, and he's 11,500. Yeah, he's really expensive here. I'd rather, go up and get a Harvick, but I think Elliott's a fantastic play. He's definitely somebody that's capable of leading laps. Has led 262 laps in his last 6 races here, which is 3rd best on the slate. I mean, taking a look at the career average finish of 11.8, he does have a win here in his career, 3 top 5s in 10 races. So yeah, Elliott's another guy that's really good here. Elliott's another guy that can definitely dominate laps, starting 6th. I would not be shocked in the slightest if he did get up there and lead laps. But yeah, I like Elliot, another potential dominator for me. I'm going to sprinkle him in. I'm not going to go crazy on it. I don't love the price, but he's definitely somebody that has, potential to dominate, and I'm going to be plugging him in a decent amount of my lineups. But like I said, I'm going to have 2 to 3 dominator builds, more so on the 3, I'm thinking. So I'll be having a lot of lineups with, mixtures of Elliot, Logano, Kyle, Keselowski, Hamlin, and Larson, guys like that. All right, next we have Joey Logano starting 9th, another very good player. I mean, he's led 278 laps here in the last 6 races, which is 2nd on the slate, average finish of 13.7. He did not finish one of those races. Taking a look at the career history for Joey Logano, average finish of 13.9, 2 wins, which is 3rd best on the slate. Has 12 top 5s in 31 races, 574 laps led, and he did not finish 4 of those races in his career. So another guy that's more than capable of leading laps. You get a little bit of place differential there. Starting 9th, I do think he probably finishes up in that top 5. Very good here. And it's all up to, can he go out there and lead laps? And I'm pointing towards there's a good chance he does. So I will have some Logano sprinkled in. He's another potential dominator for me. Going down one, Kyle Busch. And this is very interesting because Kyle Busch is absolutely fantastic here. He's been on a absolute crazy run here in the past couple of races. at Phoenix, average finish of 3.3 in his last 6 races here. 2 wins, 5 top 5s, 491 laps led, which is the best on the slate. Taking a look at the career, 1,190 laps led, which is second right behind Kevin Harvick. Average finish of 10.5, and does have 3 wins, which is second on the slate right behind Kevin Harvick. So, this is a very good track for Kyle Busch, and we'll see it all this year. I mean, a lot of tracks are very good for Kyle Busch. It's just he's not been looking great the past year and a half because there's no practice, because there's no qualifying. I really do think that is detrimental to Kyle Busch, and we've seen it on the track. He's not been looking all that great. So yes, I have some concerns, but it's another track he probably should succeed at. Could this be the week he comes out, dominates a race? I think it could be, but it's hard to really trust him at this point. But I'm going to be sprinkling him in my lineups because I do think he has potential. He's very good here, very good at the short 1 mile tracks as well. So I'm gonna play some Kyle Busch. I'm just not overly excited about it because he's just been so inconsistent the past year and a half with no practice and no qualifying. I do think that hurts him a lot. All right, now we have Brad Keselowski starting on the pole, 10,400, obviously a potential dominator. And the thing with the past year and a half with no qualifying, with no practice, we've seen the person on the pole not do all that well, which is definitely a concern. And whoever's on the pole is obviously going to get a ton of ownership. So I do have some pause for concern, but I do think Kez is more than a capable dominator. But at the same time, I thought Harvick was more than a capable dominator last week. So it just gives you kind of a little bit of pause there. But Keselowski average finish of 9.83 here in 6 races. He does not have a win here in 23 races, which is interesting, and he has led 264 career laps. And we'll take a look at the track type history here for Brad Keselowski. Average finish of 10.8, very good. Has led 524 laps in his past 15 races at these short 1 mile tracks. But yeah, I think Keselowski's fine. Starting on the pole, I do expect him to lead laps. But like I said, like the pole sitter, the past year and a half has not been performing all that well. It seems like week after week we get these guys on the pole in very good spots and they just let us down. So I wouldn't go crazy on it. I think it'd be a big mistake to go like all in on Keselowski or very high owned on Keselowski. I'm probably going to just be average with the field in the ownership, because if he does dominate like he probably should, then yes, he's going to be optimal. But if not, I do think he can get a big edge. So if you want to fade Kez, I don't hate it, I guess. But I really do expect him to lead some laps here. All right, now we have Martin Truex Jr., and this is probably the guy I'm least interested in up in this price range, starting 5th. Just not good here. Average finish of 11.5, 0 wins in his last 6 races, and 0 wins in 30 races in his career, with an average finish in his career of 15.9, which is definitely the worst up in this range. And there's other guys I like up in this range a little bit more. Is he a potential dominator? For sure, but he's only led 22 laps here in his last 6 races, only has led 123 career laps, which is, by far the lowest up in this range as well. So if I had to fade anybody up in this range, it's probably going to be the Truex side. Just not a good track for him. So even taking a look at the 1 mile in the track type history here, Martin Truex Jr. average finish of 7.2. He does have a win. It does have 340 laps led, so not awful, but just has not had success at Phoenix. And hopefully he doesn't change here, because I'm not going to be playing much of him, if any at all, Truex, because I like the other guys around him a little bit more. So going down one, we have Denny Hamill, 9,900, starting 3rd. For sure, a potential dominator. I love the price here for Hamlin. Average finish of 7.83 in his last 6 races. Does have a win. 4 top 5s in his last 6 races. Taking a look at the career, he does have 2 wins, which is the 3rd best on the slate. 14 top 5s, 821 career laps led, which is the 3rd best on the slate there. So yeah, Hamlin's a potential dominator for sure, starting 3rd. I would not be shocked in the slightest if Hamlin got up there and led some laps. Very good at these short tracks as well. We'll take a look at the track type history. Denny Hamlin, average finish of 7.9, 2 wins, 721 laps led for the track type history, which is 2nd best on the slate. So yeah, I think Hamlin's more than live to lead laps here. Another potential dominator I really like, and also really like the price of Denny Hamlin as well. So this is probably the last guy that I'm targeting for a potential dominator, and it's going to be Kyle Larson. And Kyle Larson starting 2nd. Would I be shocked if he took the lead early on Keselowski? Not at all. Kyle Larson this year has looked phenomenal. He's fast, he's great, and he's in new equipment. He's the best he's ever looked, honestly, and he's really good here in general. Average finish of 7 in his last 5 races here with 3 top 5s. Has led 56 laps as well, and I do think he's somebody that can come out here. I like the price. I do think he can dominate. Kyle Larson is somebody I'm really, really looking at. I like the price. I think he has dominating upside, and I wouldn't be completely shocked at all if he either won this race or got pretty close to it. I mean, he's been looking really good, so I like Larson, and he's probably my last potential dominator there. Ryan Blaney, I guess the only thing intriguing about Ryan Blaney here is the price, $9,300, very, very cheap. He's starting 8th. I guess he's somebody that has potential to dominate. Average finish is 16.5 here. He did not finish 2 of those races, so has had some bad luck. I guess I'll sprinkle in a little bit of Blaney just because of the price, but I'm not overly excited about it. We'll take a look at the track type history for Blaney here in the last 2 years. Ryan Blaney, average finish of 15, no wins. He does have 3 top 5s, so not the best of the short tracks, but he is somebody that has potential to dominate, I guess. I'll probably sprinkle him a little bit, but I do like the guys above him a little bit more. All right, Eric Almarola starting 32nd. So this is very interesting here because I do think he's going to gain some ownership because he's starting 32nd, lots of place differential, but I don't know. I'm probably not going to be overly exposed to Eric Almarola here. He's 9,000. He's expensive, but he's very good here. Average finish of 9.67. So I definitely see a reason why to play Eric Almarola, but personally, I want to target more dominators. I want at least 2 or 3 dominators in my lineup, and it's going to be hard to fit Almarola in there as well. I mean, it's possible maybe you can get like a Hamlin, a Keselowski, and an Almarola in there, but he's just so expensive. If he does not dominate laps, I'm not sure if he can find the optimal lineup. Maybe he does, get a top 10, but he hasn't been looking good this year. He's been looking pretty bad. He screwed a lot of people last week, including me. But this is a good track for him. Maybe I'll have a little bit of Almarola, but so I want to see what the ownership is for him first. If it's something crazy, I might just completely fade the guy because I do want to focus on dominators more. And the 9,000 price tag is a little bit too expensive for me. Alex Bowman, 8,700. He's not great here. He did not finish 2 of his races, but has an average finish of 21.8. His best finish being 13th. He's starting 21st. Again, another instance where I don't really like the price. I do think he might be able to find the top 10, but I don't see him dominating. And at that point, I'd probably rather play Almarola. So really no Bowman for me for the most part. MBD, Matt DiBenedetto starting 20th, average finish of 18. Of course, he's in that new equipment. He's in the number 21 car. 8,500, it's not bad. It's starting 20th. Wouldn't be completely shocked if he found the top 10. But I do like some of the guys below him a little bit. I'll sprinkle in a little bit of MBD. I think he's fine. But I do think there's other plays around him that are a little bit better. So William Byron, I'm really interested in this William Byron play. Starting 10th, I hopefully the ownership's low on this guy because he's starting 10th. Maybe not so much place differential, but 8,300. Average finish at 13.5 here, and William Byron's been looking fantastic. I mean, his last 2 races, he's finished 8th, he's finished 1st, and I don't think he's going to win the race or anything like that, but I can definitely see him get a top 10, maybe a top 5, and, William Byron's been looking great, and he's good here as well, so I like William Byron. I like the price. I think he's way too cheap, and hopefully he's low-owned because I would not be shocked in the slightest if he did get that top 5. Christopher Bell, not much to stay here, starting 4th. Maybe he, sneaks into the top 10, but even then, I do think he's going to be going backwards. I don't really see him dominating, so no Christopher Bell for me. Tyler Reddick, I think, is very interesting. Starting 23rd. He has finishes of 33 and 19 here. One of those races he did not finish, had some bad luck there. But yeah, I think Tyler Reddick's a pretty good play. I love the price here. I love that he's starting 23rd. I think there's some solid place differential. And we'll take a look at the track type history here for Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick at these 1 mile tracks, average finish of 18.6, not bad. Does have a top 10 in 5 races as well. So I think Tyler Reddick's fine. Starting 23rd, place differential. And I do like the price there as well. So Kurt Busch, very interesting, starting 12th. I do think he's going to go semi-low owned. A lot of people really don't like playing Kurt Busch for some reason. He always goes on the low end side, but 7,700, pretty cheap, and he's pretty good here. Average finish of 13 in his last 6 races. He does have 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s. He has led 66 laps as well, and taking a look at the career history, he does have a win, 7 top 5s. So I think a top 5 is definitely possible. I guess he's starting 12th. He's been looking decent this year for the most part. But yeah, I don't hate Kurt Busch. I think he's going to be super low owned, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if he did get that top 10. And at that price, it could be enough if he does, get in the top 5, get some fast laps. I think Kurt Busch is not the worst play in the world at that price. Chase Briscoe, 7,500. I mean, I'm not expecting much, but I do like him as a place differential play. He's in the number 14 car. Just has not been looking great at all this year. I do think he has some upside, though, so I'm going to go back to him. I like the price. 26, starting 26. I do think he can get into that top 15 potentially, but like I said, he hasn't had the best start to the year, so I'd tread lightly on this one, but I think he's in a good spot to at least move up a little bit of places. So I like Chase Briscoe as like a place differential play. Austin Dillon starting 13th, probably not going to get there. If I'm playing Austin Dillon, I probably want to play him at those 1.5 mile tracks. At these short tracks, probably not going to get there too much. Average finish 20.67. Does have a top 10. His best finish being 8 here in the last 6 races. Starting 13th, I just don't see much upside. I think he's probably only going to go backwards. So don't think I'm going to get there all that much. And then Bubba Wallace, 7,200. Has not had the best start to the season. I mean, I don't know. We were kind of sitting back and waiting to see how Bubba looks in this new equipment, but has not really been able to do much. But he's 7,200. He's starting 26th or starting 25th. Average finish of 19.83 in his last 6 races. Of course, that was in different equipment, but I kind of had a little bit, higher expectations for Bubba here. I thought he'd be a little bit better to start the year, but the year's still early. I do think he can still make adjustments, so I'm probably gonna go back to it and play some Bubba this week. I'm not gonna go crazy on it. I think there's better plays around him, but he's somebody that does have some potential. Eric Jones starting 14th, 7,000. I think he's only gonna go backwards in new equipment. He's in the 43 car. Maybe he does finish around the 15th place, but even then I don't see much upside. So not much Eric Jones for me. So these next 2 players are very interesting. I think I have interest in both of them. Ross Chastain, 6,900, has not, made a big splash this year, but he is in the 42 car. He's in some really good equipment. He's starting 22nd. I do think there's place differential, and I do like the price of 6,900. Can't really look at the stats or nothing like that because he's in completely different equipment here. So I like Chastain. I think he's a fine play. I like the price, and I do think he moves up some spots, but has not looked all that impressive this year. But of course, that was at different tracks. This is a 1 mile track, so we'll definitely see it. I think he has some serious potential here. And then Cole Custer, somebody that screwed a lot of people last week, including me. And going back to it, he's starting 24th, 6,700. Average finish of 18.5, where he finished 9th and he finished 28th. I like the price. I think he does move up, and we'll take a look at the track type history here for Cole Custer. Average finish of 13.2 in 5 races, which is absolutely fantastic. Does have 3 top 10s in 5 races. So I think a top 10 is, more than definitely possible for Cole Custer. A top 15 probably for sure. And he's starting 24th. He's cheap. I like him a lot. One of my core plays. I like Cole Custer this week. I'm going to have a decent amount of him, but hopefully he does not screw me and along with everybody else that plays him this week like he did last week. Ryan Newman starting 19th. I think he's okay. He's decent here. Average finish of 15.2. It's just, Ryan Newman kind of on the inconsistent side, you can say. I mean, he was in the optimal lineup, I believe, a couple races ago, and I was all over that. But here, I do think there's some better plays, but, it seems like whenever I play Ryan Newman, he finishes in like around 25, 26. When I don't play him, he finishes in that top 10. So I'll sprinkle a little bit of Newman. I do think he has upside. I do think this is a good track for him, but I wouldn't really get my hopes up with him. Chris Buescher starting 17th. I think he's okay. He's been looking decent this year. 6,400 starting 17th. I do think Chris Buescher is going to be extremely low owned for that reason. Maybe I'll sprinkle in a little bit. Don't think there's crazy upside or nothing like that, but I think he's a fine play. Same with McDowell. 6,200, another guy that's probably going to be very low owned. He's been looking very good this year. Outside of last race, he didn't look all that great, but had a good start to the season overall, starting 16th. I don't think there's much place differential, but he's been surprising me all year, so I think McDowell maybe sprinkle a little bit of him in would be fine at that price of 6,200. But honestly, not expecting much. I honestly expect him to only go backwards, really. And then going down to our pump plays, and there's a couple down here. Corey Lejoy starting 33rd. I think he's definitely in play. I don't expect nothing crazy, but I do think he's safe to move up some laps for sure. Average finish at 32.6, which is not great here, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did see the top 25. Which could that be enough to get in the optimal lineup? Maybe, maybe not. But he's definitely a pump play I'm looking at. Same with Daniel Suarez starting 27th. He did finish 15th 2 races ago. I think he finished like 25th, 26th last race. So I do think there's some upside with Daniel Suarez. He looks a lot better than last year. He's in some better equipment compared to last year. So I like Suarez here starting 27th. I do think there's some place differential, and I do like the price of 5,900. Alfredo, probably not going to get there, honestly. Starting 28th, I just see him moving up maybe a couple spots. I've been playing him the past couple weeks. He's just not been looking all that great. I'll sprinkle a little bit in, but not getting my hopes up too much. And then Ryan Preece starting 15th I believe he was in the optimal lineup last week somehow. He had a really good race last week. Was not expecting that. Will he find the optimal this week? Leaning towards no, starting 15th. I really think he only goes backwards. Average finish at 28 in his last 4 races, so not great here. I do expect him to go backwards, but I'll give him he's cheap. He's going to be low owned, but I probably am not going to get there. And this is probably the lowest I'll go. It's going to be Ricky Stenhouse, 5,500. I mean, seeing Ricky Stenhouse at this price is just, honestly pretty crazy. But he is starting 11th. He's not great here. Average finish of 22.83. But still, if he finishes in the top 15, I mean, that's still a decent score there. It could be enough to get on the optimal lineup, honestly, depending on what goes on. And you're going to need some of these punt guys if you're going to be playing a lot of dominators like I am. So I think Stenhouse is actually not the worst play in the world. If he can, stay around that top 15, maybe get in the top 15, maybe a top 10. I mean, he doesn't have a top 10 here in the past 6 races, but he does have 2 top 10s here in his career. So I think it's possible. But yeah, Stenhouse, I'm curious to see his ownership because, I mean, it's weird seeing Stenhouse this cheaply priced. I guess James Davison starting 38th. He's finished 33rd here in his only race. I guess he's somebody to look at, but really, for me, for the punts, I'm looking at Stenhouse. I'm looking at Suarez mostly, and then I'll sprinkle in some Lejoy, maybe some Alfredo. Davison, maybe he moves up a little bit, but I don't see much upside there. And other than that, I'm going to be fading pretty much everybody else down here. All right, guys, that's about it. So for Dominators, mix and match them. 2 to 3 Dominator builds. I like Harvick quite a bit. I like Keselowski. I think Hamlin is a potential Dominator. Elliot, Logano, Larson is a potential Dominator. All those guys. Even Kyle Busch, somebody that's been very inconsistent the past year and a half. I think he has potential here. He's going to more than likely be low owned. It's a good track for him. I'm not expecting too much, but I will be playing some Kyle Busch just in case he decides to finally get it together. Other than that, up top, just probably no Truex for me. If not much Blaney. Not sure what I'm going to do with Almarola yet. I do think he's going to be very high owned, and I don't really like that. I do want to focus on the Dominators more, and then of course some nice plays scattered throughout the slate as well. And then like I said, probably going to be a stars and scrubs week for me. So yeah, guys, that's about it. If you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments. Good luck this week for the Instacart 500 at Phoenix. Should be a very fun race. Really looking forward to it, and good luck, and let's win some money on Sunday.